I am Raziel.
What's up, guys? Raziel here, and today we're gonna go over a video kind of old school style, like back in Raz 1.0. And this video is going to be about gearing as of patch 5.05 in Final Fantasy XIV's latest expansion, Shadowbringers. I know that gearing at Endgame can be a bit confusing for new players, so this is aimed mostly at new players. So pay attention if you're new, and I will explain how Endgame gearing works. Now, first and foremost, what you need to pay attention to is where the gear comes from. How do you obtain the gear relatively quickly? So, at this point in time, as of patch 5.05, initially when you hit level 80, you will be able to get item level 430 armor, weapons, and accessories from the following dungeons, as you can see me point out right here. So the Amarat, the Twinning, and Academia Anider. These three dungeons drop 430 item level gear. Okay, so that's pretty basic. If you're familiar with MMOs, that's pretty normal to get high level gear at the highest level dungeons currently in the game. But this is far from the highest item level gear you can get. As you can see here, since I'm already level 80, doing these dungeons will net me these 2 Tomestone rewards. Now, if you're not familiar with Tomestones, this is going to be a good guide for you. So, Allagan Tomestones of Goetta and Allagan Tomestones of Phantasmagoria. I know, it's a fucking mouthful. But these will essentially be the currencies you will use in this expansion to get more gear. Now, as more expansions come, as more patches come out, more Tomestones will be added and these will become less relevant, but that's not the point of this video. So, to see how many Tomestones you have, all you have to do is go to your character screen here, go to currency, make sure you're on the battle tab right here, and you can see what you have. Now pay close attention. On the Tomestones of Goetta, you can carry a maximum of 2,000 at a time. However, there is no limit whatsoever to how many Tomestones you can collect in any given period of time. You just, once you hit 2,000, you just have to spend some before you can collect more. Now, Phantasmagoria, this is the high-end Tomestone in the current patch. As you can see, I have 75 and 2,000. I just spent a bunch of them. But you're only allowed to get 450 Tomestones in a week. So once you're capped out, you can't continuously farm these because they give higher item levels of gear. Now, Phantasmagoria will give you item level 460 gear right now. Goetta will get you 440 gear. And where do you get them? I will show you. Here in Yulmore, once you reach Endgame, this is kind of one of the main central hubs, this and the Crystarium. But in Yulmore here, this is where you will exchange. Now, as you can see, Allagan Tomestones of Goetta, DOW, that's Disciple of War, DOM, Disciple of Magic, Other. We'll get into the other in a second. Then Phantasmagoria has the same. Now, as you can see here, you can get weapons for 500 Tomestones of Goetta that are 440, so that'll probably be one of your first upgrades to go here. Armor as well, different prices for armor and accessories for your respective roles. Now, as you can see, the Phantasmagoria has the same, except for no weapons. Only a shield for paladins, but no weapons. There are no Phantasmagoria weapons. And you say, well, why the fuck not? Well, I'll show you. Because there are Phantasmagoria weapons, but you have to go down a different path to get them. In order to get the Phantasmagoria 460 weapons, you need to buy, okay, let me show you here. You need to purchase. Go to the other tab, and you will see, let's see, where is it at? Oh, I picked the wrong one. I picked Goetta. My bad, I'm a fucking retard. Alright, here we go. Moen's Token, Phantasmagoria. You will need 10 of these, and they cost 100 tokens each. 100 tomes each, I should say, to get your tokens. So once you have 10 tokens, and you've spent a grand total of 1,000 tomes to get these 10 tokens, you can then come over here and you see Deep Shadow. Actually, it's not this guy. Give me a second. This is all off the cuff. Deep Shadow Gear Exchange. This guy here. Now you can see they cost 10 of those tokens, but you say, well, what's this? You also need a lightweight tombstone. What the hell is that, Raz? What is this bullshit? Well, I'm going to show you, okay? In order to buy one of those tokens, you have to come to the raid vendor, okay? The raid vendor here. And in order to get a token, you need this lightweight tombstone. You need 7 of these. Blade of Early Antiquity. I know it seems complex, but it really isn't. As you can see here, I have 4. Now, how do I get one of these? You can get one of these per week. And how you get one of these is by completing the 4th instance of the normal mode raid. The Eden's Gate Resurrection, Descent, Inundation, Sepulture. Every time you complete Sepulture once a week, you will get one of those guaranteed, one of those items. So that's how you get the path to the 460 weapon. Keep in mind, this is also a great way to gear, because the raid drops items that you can exchange for 450 item level pieces of gear. So with the power level and item level between Goetta and Phantasmagoria levels. So there's the 440 for the Goetta, the raid is 450, the normal mode raid that is, and then the Phantasmagoria is 460. But keep in mind, you can win 1 item per week per boss. So if you do, let's say, Eden's Gate Resurrection, and you don't get an item, you can repeat Eden's Gate Resurrection and continually rolling on the items there until you get one from that specific boss. And you can do that every week. Now, the items that drop from the raid bosses are the Antique Exchange, as you can see here. And you need 2 helmet drops to buy the helmet, 4 for the pants and the chest, 2 for the gloves, 2 for the boots, 1 item for the belt, and 1 for an accessory of your choice. In addition, another way to get item level 450 gear is the 2 extreme primal difficulties. As of now, that is the primal Crown of the Innocents, and we call her Tits McGee Extreme, but Titania Extreme. Now, a 450 weapon drops from Titania Extreme. But if you're unlucky and your weapon is never dropping, you can beat Titania Extreme 10 times. You can do it as many times as you want. You're not limited in the week to how much gear you can get off extreme fights. And you can exchange 10 tokens for the weapon of your choice, as you can see here. In addition, the 450 items from Innocence, the Crown of the Innocents Extreme, it costs 5 if you're unlucky, but generally you'll get these pretty quick if you just keep doing the fight over and over. And it drops accessories, all item level 450. In addition to that, the crafted gear in the game right now, the highest end crafted gear is 450, as you can see here, though it can be quite pricey, costing, anywhere between a couple 100,000 gil to a couple million gil per piece. So if your pockets are loaded, which from my experience most new players aren't, but if they are, or you have a good friend that is, you can gear out completely 450 weapon, all your armor, all your slots with 450. And you might say, well, why don't you just do that? If you got the money, like, fuck all the rest, why don't I just do that? Well, I'll tell you why you just don't do that here in a minute. There's one more tier of gear here. Now the raids, the savage version of the raids, the hardest content in Final Fantasy XIV, as it has always been, with the exception of ultimate raids, which are few and far in between and only reward cosmetic, unique rewards, not powerful rewards. But the most powerful items in the game, the highest item level, drops from the savage raid bosses. 3 pieces drop per week. Each boss kill, though, even if you don't win an item on a savage fight, you can't keep going back to the same fight that week and rolling on it. Once the loot has spawned at the end of a boss fight, once you have done your kill for the week on that boss, you can no longer get loot from that boss. However, the RNG protection here is every time you beat the boss, for the first time that week, the one time each week you beat the boss will guarantee drop for you one of these books. A Book of Inundation, Book of Descent. They're named after their respective bosses. Book of Resurrection. As you can see, so if you kill the first Savage fight 4 weeks in a row, you will have enough of these books to buy an accessory. That's item level 470. You need 6 of Descent to buy boots, to buy these coatings and these solvents, which I'll get into in a second. You need 8 of the third boss to get pants, and I think that's pretty much it on the third boss. Yeah, the third. Oh, and these other 2 solvents. The second Descent to get gloves, second Descent to get helmets, and the fourth and final to get weapons and to get your chest piece. So, and they're quite expensive, 8, as you can see here, but the weapons are the highest item level in the game, being item level 475. Now you might be saying, well, what are these for? Deep Shadow Solvents, Deep Shadow Twine, Deep Shadow Coating. I'll explain that. These items here, as you can see, to get these items, you only need to be beating the first 2 Savage fights. So let's say you can get through the first 2 Savage fights every week, but you're having trouble progressing on the 3rd and 4th. It doesn't mean you're stuck on gear. These items, okay, you can then take over to this vendor here. Paying attention? Good. And you can augment your Phantasmagoria items. So the 460 items you get from your 450 weekly amount of tomes that you keep buying over the weeks, you can upgrade them to be the same level as Savage gear, with the exception of the weapon will always be 5 item levels lower than the Savage weapon. So you can never get, the strongest weapon in the game is always the latest and last Savage fight, by 5 item levels at least. But you can get these different pieces of gear. So now you may be sitting there being pretty confused, going, well, what fucking pieces do I get? Is it all about item level? Should I just get crafted gear? I mean, what the fuck do I actually do? I don't even fucking know. This is confusing. Okay, well, I'm gonna tell you. As in all MMOs, there are best in slot. Best in slot gear, and what best in slot is depends on what job you play, what job you main. Me personally, as a Dark Knight, I want to avoid any gear that has tenacity on it. I know tenacity is the main stat for tanks, but it's garbage. Avoid it like the plague. I want as much crit as and determination as I can get my hands on. So if I just went out and bought all the 450 crafted pieces, I would be essentially gimping myself, because all my gear would have a lot of tenacity on it. So do your research. Find out what stats, what main stats and secondary stats are the best for your class, for your job. Many jobs have 2 or more builds that are viable, such as an example as Samurai. Samurai, you can focus on skill, speed, and crit, and have low determination and direct hit. Or you can have almost no skill speed and a ton of direct hit and crit, and then throwing in determination wherever possible. Both are viable, both need similar DPS, but they have completely different play styles. So you may want to find out what stats you want to go for, and then find out what 470 pieces are the ones you want to go for. For me personally, some of them are going to be upgraded Phantasmagoria gear. The best weapon for me is the obviously the Savage, the 475. Some of the gear is straight from Savage, so I'm going to buy some pieces when I get through all of Savage from there, and then I'm going to upgrade some of the other Phantasmagoria that's better itemized than the Savage gear and get it up to 470 through this person. And like the 460 weapon, I might avoid altogether. I might just hang on to the 450 that I have now, because the 450 I have now is way better itemized than the 460. And in my opinion, a 10 item level difference isn't that substantial when the stats are so terrible on the 460 weapon. So that's what you need to figure out. And I want to add as a quick side note, don't forget to find out what melds are the best, what material you should be attaching to all your gear for your class. If you're a little more confused about how materia works and your head spins and you hear people talking about overmelds, I'll leave a link in the description below with my materia guide that I did just before the launch of Shadowbringers. 99% of the rules in that still apply. So if you don't know how materia works, it's in there. But anyway, guys, that is essentially how to gear. My recommendation, right out of the gate when you're a new player, if you have money, pick up the 450 crafting pieces that are best in slot. Don't just grab them all, grab the ones that are best in slot pre-Savage. Get your weapon from Titania Extreme as fast as possible. In fact, I almost wouldn't even bother getting the 440 weapon first unless you want it for glam. Try to get your hands on the 450 weapon from Titania Extreme. Get accessories from Crown of the Innocents. In my opinion, it's not that hard of a fight, even though it's an extreme mode. It's one of the easier extremes I've ever done. Get your 450 pieces that way. Again, get whatever 450 best in slots you can crafting wise if you have the money. If not, if you don't have the money, grind out Tomestones of Goetta and get all the 440 pieces that you can, because you can grind as much as you want that a week. Make sure you do all 4 normal mode raids and roll on the slots that will be your best in slot. 450. Get that. And then start progressing in extreme and savage modes. Start doing savage modes, learning the fights, watching guides before you go in, joining practice groups, and start getting savage mode gear that way. Save up your Phantasmagoria pieces for the 460 pieces that are going to be best in slot, especially once they become 470, once you convert them over to 470. But anyway, guys, I know this has been confusing, but let me know if this helped you all in the comments below. Thanks so much for following and for liking my content. If this helped you out, please leave a like and sub. Hit the little alert bell if you want to see more of my fucking content in the future. If you didn't like it and you thought this was a waste of your time, well, I apologize. And actually, I don't apologize. Go fuck yourself. I don't care. Anyway, guys, thanks so much. This has been Raziel. Stay tuned, and as always, oh, I almost forgot, follow me on Twitch. As you can see here, I stream 3 days a week. Even though I'm keeping my eye lately, keeping a close eye on Mixer, because they're adding some new programs soon, and we all know how cucked as fuck Twitch is. But anyway, guys, it's been Raziel. As always, my friends, keep it real.